Did you know that China was the first country in the world to implement an exam to test officials who wanted to work in the government? Well, that's how meritocracy started. It's centuries old, and it has nothing to do with the CPC or with the formation of the People's Republic of China. Hi everybody, hello and welcome to another video by Are We There Yet, the YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be diving deep into something that is incredibly important here in China, and that is the GAOKAO. So, if you truly want to understand China and its meritocracy, its meritocratic system, this exam is a huge piece of that puzzle. So, let us start by asking, what is the GAOKAO? Well, it's a national unified examination for admissions to general universities and colleges. Essentially, is China's annual undergraduate examination for people. So in my country we have the ICFES, in the US the SATs or the A-levels, but it's a very big deal here in China. In fact, these exam papers are classified as top secret by the Chinese government, and that is the highest level of state secrecy for any document in the country. It is that important. Now let me share a couple of interesting, mind-blowing statistics for you. This year there will be 13,350,000 students taking the GAOKAO. That's insane. Now, it is incredibly competitive. About 20% of the students get a first-class admission to university, but fewer than 2% can actually enroll in top universities in the country. That is extremely competitive, if you ask me. Now, the GAOKAO is seen as a life-altering opportunity for kids, especially for kids from average backgrounds, say low-income families. It's practically the only criterion for getting into university here in the country, and the results pretty much determine future job opportunities in life. So students, as you would think, spend most of their waking hours studying for this one shot in life. The exam itself is typically held on June 7th and the 8th, so tomorrow, but in some regions it can be extended. Interestingly, it used to be in July, but it has been moved to June because of the hot weather here in the southern Chinese part of the country. Now, a quick look at some of the subjects that are tested. There's 3 compulsory subjects. There's Chinese, math, and a foreign language. That can be English, can be Spanish, can be French, Russian, anything. This right here is an international school, so they'll probably take something else. They don't need to take English. Now, historically, students would then have to choose between an art track, which meant history or political science or geography, or a science track, including physics, chemistry, and biology. But over the last few years, there's been some changes, and most regions now are using a new model, a new system called the 3+1+2. The 3 are the main ones, Chinese, math, and the foreign language. But then the 1 is a choice that the students have. They can choose between physics or history. And 2 is 2 subjects chosen from either chemistry, biology, political science, or geography, based on students' interests. Now, you might be wondering about the fairness of this exam. In general, the GAOKAO is seen as providing fair competition because it allows gifted students from all socioeconomic backgrounds to attempt top universities in the country. And since education is so cheap here, the government can easily help those that are not very affluent. However, some people criticize it, of course. One of them is the regional discrimination because, of course, educational resources are not evenly distributed around the country. There's also the idea of unfair admissions for migrant children because they need to take their exam where their WeChat is, the household registration. So some people may live here, but the WeChat is in another city. And the last thing is, of course, the huge psychological pressure that it puts on the kids. The Chinese government is very much aware of all these issues, and they're constantly implementing reforms to, number 1, increase access for rural students and to create more vocational schools as alternatives to universities. You will remember the double reduction, which basically makes sure that no subject that was taught in schools will be taught at training schools to give everybody the same opportunity. So that's a very important reform that took place. Now, an interesting aspect, especially for minorities and the policies that they have for these minority ethnic groups, is that they can benefit in different ways. One of them is a simpler Chinese literature test, and sometimes an optional minority language literature exams. So that helps them a lot. In some regions, like in Xinjiang, they actually get extra points on their GAOKAO scores, which again promotes educational equity and it nurtures diverse talent from all over the country. Finally, and just to give you a sense of how serious this is, the logistics of the GAOKAO are crazy. The factories that print the exams, the exam papers themselves, they're all secret. Nobody knows which factories they are. The workers are isolated, like sequestered and monitored. And those papers, the exams themselves, they're highly securely transported in armored vehicles with police and GPS tracking and whatnot. It's like a spy movie. Another thing that takes place here is along these areas where they're going to take the GAOKAO, you can see those signs at the back talking about the GAOKAO. Yeah? There are signs asking people not to honk, not to make noise, not to make too much racket because the kids are for several days taking the tests. So they want always to help the kids perform the best. So there you go, guys. That's a very quick dive into the GAOKAO. It's a fascinating and very complex system that plays a massive role in the lives of millions of Chinese students. And it also is a quick look into this meritocratic system that China has. When you want to understand the government, China, you really need to start understanding the GAOKAO. China's government is basically election after selection and is very similar to the GAOKAO. All right, friends, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much. And until I see you again, take it easy and bye for now.